Well, as we inch ever closer to the launch of Call of Duty Black Ops 7, I figure why not take a look back at Black Ops 6? What I liked about it, what I didn't like about it, and what my overall rating is for this game. So without any further ado, let's get into this. Alright, I think it's only fair to start with the mode I always play first with any COD game, the campaign. Now, I actually really liked Cold War's campaign, so going into this knowing it was a sequel to that campaign, I was hyped, I'm not gonna lie. But how was it? Well, it's complicated. Now, while it is nowhere near as bad as MW3 2023's campaign, it also wasn't great either. From a gameplay perspective, I liked it really well. It is a huge step up from Cold War, especially because it's on the IW9 engine. And I like the safe house a lot more in this game, because they expand it where you can find clues, solve puzzles, and buy upgrades for later missions. Though I will say the campaign could have benefited from side missions, similar to Cold War. However, they did do a better open world type mission than MW3. There, I said it. Now, is it a great or perfect mission? No. But it is executed far better than the open combat missions in MW3, as it is more expansive because they added more to do in the mission, and it's not as much of a slogfest to get through. And it was just one mission, so it didn't take over half the game. And I even liked the mindfuck mission in the old lab. Now, let's talk about the story. The story is decent at best. It's not great or as good as Cold War, but it's far from bad. Our main characters are likable, such as Marshall, Savati Dumas, Felix Newman, Adler, and Woods, of course. Case, the character we play as, however, seems a bit like a copycat of Bell from Cold War. Jane Harrow is also not that great of a character. Her twist as a villain isn't even built up that well either. The dialogue options are also a bit watered down, and they're only limited to the safe house and the Clinton rally mission. There's also not even any alternate endings for any mission, especially that change up the game. Again, it's only limited to the rally mission, and doesn't do much to change the story. The plot is also something we've seen done a million times, where some chemical bioweapon is set to be released on the world, and our main heroes must stop it. I really wish they would have leaned in more heavily to the Gulf War setting and history of it like previous Black Ops games. The region of Avalon, at least in this game, is pretty bland looking in my opinion, and I wish the whole campaign took place in a real part of the world. Pantheon also could have been a well done evil faction, though it wasn't really executed properly. I think if they had done something with the truth lies thing that was all over the marketing, it could be a great spiritual successor to Cold War in that regard. And it would have been great if Adler was the main focus of the game with the mystery of whether he is a mole or not, because they kinda went nowhere with it by the end. But despite its shortcomings, what makes the campaign from being a complete train wreck is definitely most of the characters and the gameplay. So I'll give the campaign a 6 out of 10. Decent. Okay, so the multiplayer. Oh boy, do I have some things to say. Now, I was really hoping it would feel a lot like Cold War's multiplayer, but mixed with the ideas of MW3's multiplayer. And that's not exactly what we got, because the game at launch felt really good. The new Omni movement mechanic was even fun to play with. But then, Season 1 happened, and everything changed. Season 1 seemed to start a decline in fun content, or even any content for that matter. On top of that, there were also a lot of bugs, though this season wouldn't be the only one. It seemed like once again that they cared about Warzone more than multiplayer, and the cosmetics. Oh boy, the cosmetics. Now I know there's a lot of people out there who do not like the skins in this game, especially the collab skins, mainly the cartoon characters. Yeah, I'm just gonna say this, and this might be a hot take, but I didn't care if they broke immersion. Now, why is that? Well, the simple fact that it's a multiplayer game. I mean, seriously, what is realistic about dying and respawning? And if you want an immersive Call of Duty that badly, then there's the campaign right there, just waiting to be played. I mean, times have also changed, so of course, the skins aren't gonna be how they used to be. Alright, side tangent over, but for real. I didn't really see what all the fuss about the skins were. Especially because there was way more important shit to fix, like the lack of content, the bugs, the SPMM, and the spawns on certain maps. Speaking of which, how were the maps? Well, they were meh for the most part. A few of them were okay, especially some of the seasonal maps, even if some of them were old maps. But my issues with some of them mostly had to do with the way they looked, even the ones set on Avalon, and the way they flowed, which they did say they were gonna be 3-lane structured. However, they were barely that. And the ones that actually felt 3-laned were, unsurprisingly, the remastered maps. Though the only remastered map I didn't like, at least aesthetically, was WMD, or, sorry, its preferred name, World Motor Dynasty. God, that was a dumb name. But other than that, it at least still plays like WMD, which is good, even if I don't like looking at it. Season 6 was at least an okay season, but of course, it had to be the final season where it becomes passable. The events also were not as good and felt more tedious to grind through than in MW3. Now, despite the way they did content in this MP, I still had fun and kept playing. The reason for that being, well, I just like the core gameplay way too much. I mean, come on, the Omni movement alone is great. So I'll give the MP a 5 out of 10, because again, core gameplay-wise, it was fun, but content-wise, it definitely was lacking. I know a lot of it likely had to do with developing BO7 at the same time, but come on, Treyarch, you could have done better. Alright, now we have reached the best part of this game, zombies. And man, did they outdo themselves this year. Well, mostly. Some of the maps were really fun to play, like Liberty Falls, Terminus, Citadel des Morts, and my personal favorite, Shattered Vale. However, the Tomb and Reckoning can fuck right off. But hey, if only 2 maps are bad, that's a sign of a good zombies mode. They also made it more challenging than Cold War Zombies, which I definitely liked, even if I got frustrated at times. Especially with those Easter eggs. Speaking of Easter eggs, they finally made Easter eggs engaging again. Now, they did come out with Directed Mode, which was basically like half Easter egg tutorials in an official capacity. It was an okay mode. I didn't really use it that often, as the standard mode was a lot more fun. Another side mode they added back was Grief from BO2, and it was not great. It didn't feel like classic Grief. and you couldn't even set up a private grief match or fill an entire lobby with 7 of your friends, which was not the route they should have taken with it. The special round enemies were also horrible and annoying in this game, like the vermin, the parasites, the toxic zombies, and the Commando Klaus. Like, why is Treyarch afraid to bring back Hellhounds from World at War and BO1? Who knows? The elite enemies were also kind of annoying, though once you figure out how to kill them quickly, they're not as bad. However, fuck the double gas and amalgams, just saying. The Gobblegums also came back from BO3, and they finally felt like they had a purpose, because they came in clutch sometimes, especially during Easter eggs. Now, at last, the story. So, as somebody who never really paid much attention to the zombie story before, I at first wasn't that invested. But I went and learned some of the lore, and yeah, the way that this game's story ends is pretty bad, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, we'll see how they handle it in BO7, but I have my doubts. So yeah, Zombies definitely has some flaws, but at the same time, I did have a lot more positives than negatives. So, my rating for Zombies is a 7.5 out of 10. Just good. So in conclusion, BO6 had a lot of flaws, and is definitely one of Treyarch's weakest games. But I can't act like it's their worst, because there's a lot of good stuff in this game. Certain parts of the campaign, the core gameplay, parts of the multiplayer, and most of the zombies. It's a game that definitely was pushed aside for the development of BO7, and hopefully BO7 will be a better game, but at the same time, BO6 still had its moments. So, my overall rating for the whole game is a 6.5 out of 10. Also decent. But that is gonna do it for today. Whatever thoughts you have about this video or BO6, be sure and leave them in the comments. And as always, I will see you all next time.